You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is unreal tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome, everyone. The atmosphere within the Brown family was oppressive, even on a Flagstaff day of sunshine. Christine, radiant yet exhausted in the last days before her pregnancy, felt the walls shutting in. Every move she made bore the burden of a choice that would forever alter her family. This wasn't a matter of a baby. This was about love, betrayal, and the crash of two men who had once symbolized opposite extremes of her life. Christine had walked away from Kody's dark presence, seeking solace in David's reassuring hands and peaceful heart. But as the due date loomed near, rumors circulated around the family. Would Kody even get into the hospital room? Would he attempt to take back control of Christine? At her weakest point, Mary dodged the subject. Janelle quietly cheered Christine's autonomy on, and Robin whispered about respect and order within the family, terms that only lit Christine further. Fans online exploded with theories, some claiming Christine would allow Kody in for the baby's sake, others insisting she would ban him outright. Then, late one Friday afternoon, everything shifted. Christine went into labor earlier than expected. The contractions came hard, the calls went out, and by nightfall, both David and Kody found themselves on a collision course inside the very same hospital. The setting was in place, and what would be revealed would prove to be one of the most surprising and memorable moments in Sister Wives history. Flagstaff's sun rose high, casting long shadows over the peaceful suburban neighborhood where David and Christine had established their new home. Christine was pregnant, 9 months into it, her hands placed gently on her pregnant belly as she ambled slowly around the kitchen, attempting to calm her breathing. This was the moment of sheer bliss, the new chapter, the new start. But it never happened with joy in the Brown family. And this time the drama was building in the shape of two men, Kody Brown, the father of her elder children, and her previous husband, and David Woolley, the guy who had finally provided her with the tranquility she yearned for. While Christine made tea that morning, she couldn't shake the discomfort. She thought back to late-night fights with Kody in the past, his dictatorial words ringing in her head. "I'm the head of this family. I make the decisions." Now here she was about to give birth to a baby with David in her corner, and the idea of Kody inserting himself in this intimate moment filled her with anguish. At the same time, elsewhere in town, Kody fumed. He had informed Robin the previous night that he would be there the day Christine went into labor. "That's still my family. She can't cut me out," he spat, striding back and forth across their living room floor. Robin, anxious but quiet, could only nod, aware that Kody's anger was a tempest that couldn't be shifted. Janelle, ever a voice of quiet reason, knew better. When Christine texted her that labor had started early, Janelle's heart sank. Kody won't let this go, she thought, and David won't back down either. By late afternoon, Christine's contractions were growing stronger. David packed her hospital bag, his voice calm, his hand steady on her shoulder. "I've got you," he whispered. "You and the baby. Nothing else matters right now." But even as Christine tried to focus on her breathing, her phone buzzed again. A message flashed across the screen from Kody. "I'm coming to the hospital. Don't try to keep me out." Her heart dropped. This wasn't just going to be a birth. This was going to be a battle. And as night fell over Flagstaff, the hospital lights glowed like a beacon of drama. Within those walls, two men, one from Christine's past, one from her current life, were on a collision course that would split the Brown family into pieces forever. Beeping monitors murmured along the hospital corridors, echoing footsteps, and the soft hum of nurses switching shifts. Christine's wheelchair creaked softly as David rolled her through the maternity ward double doors. Her face was flushed, both from the contractions and the storm of emotions swirling inside her chest. David leaned down, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Focus on the baby, Christine. Block everything else out. I'll handle it. His words carried warmth, but behind his calm exterior, David's jaw was tight. He was aware this day was not only about bringing a new life into the world, but about safeguarding Christine from the darkness of her history. Within the birthing suite, the fluorescent lights seemed both unforgiving and shielded. Christine attempted to regulate her breath while a nurse attached her to a monitor. The heartbeat of the baby dominated the room, rapid and even, reassuring her with a beat that threatened to smother all the fear creeping up in her chest. Almost. And then the door swung open. Kody Brown shoved his way into the room, blonde locks tangled, eyes burning with rage. He hadn't even signed in at the front reception. His fame preceded him, and nobody wished to cross the man at that moment. He brought the tempest of years of unresolved disagreements into the delivery room. Christine, Kody growled, his voice bouncing off the clean walls. You can't exclude me from this. I have the right to be here. This is my family, my kids, my legacy. Christine's eyes bulged in amazement, her body stiffening in mid-contraction. David moved quickly to block Kody's path with a steady but firm position. She doesn't want you here, Kody, David stated, his voice unwavering, measured, but with an acuity razor sharp enough to slice through steel. It has nothing to do with your legacy. This is about Christine. And this baby, sit down or get out. For an instant, silence held the room in its grasp, heavy, crushing silence. The only other sound was the constant beep of Christine's heart, monitor, and the soft thrum of her desperate breathing. But Kody wasn't a back her down kind of guy. He advanced another step, shaking his finger at David. You think you've taken my place? You think you can just waltz into my household and assume control? You don't realize what you're handling. David's eyes gave a narrow cast, his stance unyielding like a wall between Kody and Christine. What I do realize is that Christine doesn't need your domination anymore. She doesn't want your anger, and she sure as hell doesn't want you in this room as she fights to welcome her child into the world. Christine winced in agony as another contraction struck, her hand clutching the rail of the hospital bed. Stop it, she shouted, her voice shaking. Both of you, please, this is my time, not yours. Her request only added to the tension. Nurses came running in, murmuring urgent orders, attempting to get the scene out of hand. One of them moved close to Christine, speaking softly but insistently. Do you want him taken away? Christine blinked rapidly between David and Kody. Her forehead was slick with sweat as she panted through another contraction. Her lips quivered, wavering between terror, rage, and weariness. At last, she breathed. If he can't quiet down. Yes. Kody's eyes locked onto Christine. He froze. For the first time, his bluster broke, his eyes narrowing in amazement. He had never thought Christine, once submissive wife who had followed his every whim, would prefer someone else's company to his. But the evening was only just starting, and the storm had just erupted, because what followed would leave even the hospital workers amazed. A battle so fierce it resonated through the corridors, hours after the baby's initial cry. The delivery room was meant to be a refuge, a place where new life was brought into the world, where love conquered fear. What transpired was a battleground. Christine clutched the bed rail, her knuckles white, with perspiration dripping down her brow. The monitor on her side beeped, frantically monitoring her and the baby's heartbeat. Nurses hovered anxiously, torn between medical obligation and the chaos that was unfolding. Kody's face was red with indignation, his curls sodden, with sweat as he stood up to David. His voice cracked with fury, the same fury fans had witnessed far too often on their televisions. You don't belong here, Kody growled, his chest pumping. That's my wife. That's my family. You're just a distraction. David did not back down. He stood where he was, his hand held higher, protective but firm, his eyes fixed on Kody like a man who would not quit. She wasn't your wife anymore when you weren't treating her as such, David retorted. Christine needs peace. Christine needs love. And she damn well ought to be allowed to give birth to this child in peace without your mess contaminating the air. Christine groaned aloud as another contraction racked her body, her voice cracking. Stop it, both of you, please, please stop. But Kody couldn't be stopped. His pride was bubbling over, his life falling apart before his eyes. He took a step nearer, jabbing a shaking finger toward David. You think you're some sort of savior? You think you can wipe me out of my children's lives? You'll never be their father. You'll never take my place. David's face said, I don't have to take your place. You've done that all on your own. Gasps issued from the nurses in the corner. Christine's ragged breathing filled the room. Then it did. Kody pushed forward, his hand striking David's chest. The hospital room was in an uproar. Nurses screamed, rushing to untangle them. David took a step back, but quickly regained balance, fists tight by his sides. He didn't punch, but his glare could slice steel. Touch me again, David warned, his voice low and menacing, and you won't only be thrown out of this hospital. You'll never be allowed to see Christine again. A nurse yelled out for security, her radio crackling with calls ringing out down the hall. Christine's monitor beeped wildly, her heart rate racing into the danger zone as tears ran down her face. Get him out, Christine finally bellowed, her voice raw, desperate, and pained. I can't do this with him here. I won't do this with him here. The words cut deeper than any shove. Kody stood immobilized, his chest pumping, his eyes flicking. From Christine's tormented face to David's unyielding position. For the first time, the man who had dominated 4 wives stood helpless. 2 hospital security guards burst in, one on either side of him. Their voices were calm, but absolute. Sir, you need to step outside now. Kody struggled initially, jerking his arm away, his voice cracking into a rage-filled bellow. You're making a mistake, Christine. This is my family. You'll regret this. But Christine buried her face in her pillow, crying and weeping and holding David's hand in a tight grasp as she whispered through tears. No, Kody, the only mistake I ever made was letting you control me for so long. Those words, raw, final, irreversible, silenced even Kody's rage. The guards escorted him out, his furious shouts echoing down the sterile hallways until the doors slammed shut. Inside, the room finally exhaled. Christine's breathing steadied as David brushed her hair from her damp forehead, whispering gently, He's gone. It's just us now. Focus on the baby. You're safe. And as the nurses regrouped, as Christine prepared for the final push, fans watching from a distance would never forget. This was the night the Brown family's fractures became permanent scars, because while a baby was soon to be born, a family legacy had just died in that hospital room. The room subsided into a tenuous peace after Kody was kicked out, but the wounds of his presence remained like ashes after flames. Christine's chest heaved and fell erratically, her respirations uncertain, eyes puffy with tears. Each contraction appeared to bear not only the agony of giving birth, but the burden of decades, years of stifled rage, submission, and shattered vows. David remained at her side, his hand securely in hers, his presence a rock-solid anchor against the tempest. His thumb caressed her knuckles, centering her, reminding her this was her time, her opportunity to finally take back control of her own narrative. The nurse fiddled with the monitor, her voice soothing but tinged with anxiety. Christine, your body is experiencing stress. We require you to concentrate on your breathing. Breathe in deeply, breathe out. You can do it. Christine nodded feebly, weeping as she whispered, I don't want him anywhere close to us. Not ever again. David bent forward, his forehead almost touching hers. He's gone, he whispered. He's not present in this moment. This is about us, about you, and about this little one. Nothing else exists. Those words steadied her, if only for an instant. But another contraction ripped through her, harder than before, and Christine's body corkscrewed against the hospital bed. The monitor beeped more quickly, ringing out in strained silence. She screamed, her hand clutching David, so hard he almost flinched. I can't do this, she wept. Not like this, not after all of that. David's voice was low, soothing, unshakable. Yes, you can. You're more powerful than you know. More powerful than Kody ever credited you with. Every time he didn't believe in you, every time he dismissed you, this is the moment that you show him that you can. You're not giving birth to a baby. You're giving birth to yourself out of his shadow. Christine's eyelids closed as another spasm of pain washed over her. But David's words stuck themselves within her chest, a spark of will combating the fatigue. The doctor arrived, his eyes on the monitors. Time, Christine, we need to push. The room went into gear. Nurses moved the bed. Lights cut. Medical trays clinked softly in the background. Christine's breaths were ragged, but David never released. Her hand, he counted with her, his voice leading her through the pace. 1, 2, 3, breathe. 1, 2, 3, push. The hours drag on. Every contraction etches its mark on Christine's body and soul, each push drawing her nearer not only to motherhood, but to liberty. Her thoughts flashed, nights alone in Flagstaff. The empty expression in Kody's eyes when he brushed aside her emotions the night she packed up and left. All the memories arose and were consumed by the flames of this new life. She was at one moment weakened, her head resting against the pillow. I can't, she croaked. It's too much. I don't have anything left. David held her face gently with his other hand, his eyes glassy but resolute. Yes, you do. Look at me, Christine. You've borne this family on your back for years. You've suffered pain that would have destroyed anyone else. This is yours to complete. For you. For our child. For your freedom. Christine's eyes opened, focusing on his. Something within her shifted. Fatigue became flame. Despair became defiance. The next contraction hit, and she pushed with a raw, guttural scream that rattled the room. The nurses encouraged her. The doctor pressed her on. And David's voice kept her tethered in the tumult. And then silence. And then the most exquisite sound Christine had ever heard. A cry, a baby's cry. High-pitched, delicate, but strong enough to cut through all of the tension, all of Kody's anger's shadows, all of the aching memories that pursued her. Christine fell back against the bed, great tears streaming down her face, her body shuddering with relief and weariness. The nurse deposited the tiny, swaddled infant into her arms. Christine's hands trembled as she held the new life close against her chest, her tears falling unashamedly, not only from the pain, but also from the freedom of years of anguish. David bent down, his hand enveloping the baby's head as his lips touched Christine's temple. You did it, he murmured. You did it, Christine. This is our start. Nobody is ever going to second-guess this with us. Christine gazed down at the baby's tiny face, her tears dropping gently onto the blanket. Whole. She was whole for the first time in decades, not as a sister-wife, not as a woman in Kody's orbit, but as Christine, a woman, a mother, a survivor. And under the cold lights of the hospital in this cold winter morning, she knew this wasn't just the birth of a child. It was her moment of liberation. By morning, the lights in the hospital grew dim, but the saga had already spilled onto the streets. It spread quickly, Not merely in hushed tones in Flagstaff, but everywhere from fan forums to Facebook groups, TikTok edits, and Reddit threads. The Sister Wives community knows a thing or two about turmoil, but this was different. A birth that should have been sacred had turned into a public battlefield. On Reddit, one post shot to the top of the Our Sister Wives subreddit within hours. Did anyone else hear that Kody tried to storm Christine's delivery room? I'm shaking. This man has no boundaries. Replies poured in. Kody cannot stand that Christine has a new life and real love. This proves it. David is already times the husband Kody ever was. He stayed calm and protective. Imagine Christine trying to push while Kody is screaming outside the door. Nightmare. Meanwhile, on TikTok, fans stitched together reenactments of the alleged fight. One viral clip showed a creator slamming open a door, yelling, "I'm her husband," before being dragged away by friends dressed as nurses. It accumulated more than 1 million views within hours, with the caption, "Kody at the hospital. Meanwhile, Christine just trying to breathe." Sister Wives. Christine's dedicated fans on Facebook fan sites were sadder. One read, "Christine deserves peace. She deserves to give her baby life surrounded by love, not anger. Kody will never change." Hundreds of comments poured in with tear emojis, prayers, and angry defenses of Christine's right to happiness, even on Twitter, X hashtags, such as Kody Meltdown, Christine deserves better, and David vs. Kody trended locally. Some fans even cracked jokes about making the battle into a Lifetime movie script, but others insisted that TLC drop unseen footage. If TLC cameras captured any of this, they better not edit "We Need the Raw" hospital fight scene. This will be the most watched episode ever in Sister Wives history. Guarantee it. Janelle, typically reticent on social media, quietly liked a fan comment which said, "Christine deserves the world, and Kody deserves his own reflection." Fans screenshotted it immediately, sharing it in Instagram stories like wildfire. Mary, meanwhile, shared something mysterious on her Instagram story. A black backdrop with the words "Peace isn't found in chaos." Within minutes, fan blogs were speculating. Was this shade directed at Kody or Christine? The comment streams blew up. And then there was Robin. Fans picked up on the fact that she had gone dark. No posts, no likes, no comments. For the fandom, silence was louder than words, protecting Kody. Once more, another Redditor commented, "Typical Robin." By noon, YouTube breakdowns and live reaction streams created by fans were top of search results. Creators broke down each and every rumor, deconstructed Christine's hospital timeline, and theorized how TLC would edit the season. It was argued that this was the real breaking point of the show, the moment that turned Sister Wives from a polygamy docuseries into a full-blown reality TV courtroom drama. And everywhere, there was one message echoed. Christine had finally triumphed, not only in love, not only in independence, but in the hearts of the people. For the first time in years, fans weren't merely sympathizing, they were mobilizing. Christine's baby wasn't merely a fresh start to her life. To fans, it was a sign of hope, survival, and ultimately escaping Kody's grasp. The infant had hardly drawn its first breaths before another tempest was conceived. Not within the hospital, but within the halls of TLC. Phone lines rang hot. Emails were zipping back and forth. Executives were huddled in emergency conference calls, their tone cutting with alarm. What had occurred at that Flagstaff hospital wasn't merely family soap, it was TV gold. But it was also perilous. One of the veteran producers slammed her notebook closed, grumbling, "We can't write this level of mayhem, but we can't show all of it on the air." This could ruin Kody's reputation forever. One of the more ambitious producers retorted, or it could make season the franchise's highest-rated season ever. Fans already know Christine's tale speaks to them. Now, they'll witness her rebirth. In backroom deliberations, TLC executives considered the gamble. For years, Kody had been the patriarch, the face of the brand. But with every scandal, every outburst, every fan outcry, his image unraveled further. Now, with reports of him yelling outside a delivery room, pulling nurses around, and being hustled out by hospital staff, was Kody Brown too toxic to salvage? At the same time, tabloid front pages glowed in the dark. Sister Wives birth drama. Kody Brown erupts at Christine's hospital room. People magazine. Christine welcomes baby amid shocking delivery room fight. Us Weekly. Sources claim Kody dragged out by security during Christine's labor. The Sun. Entertainment Tonight covered the story as well, their anchors talking in practice shock. We've followed this family for over a decade, but this might be the most explosive moment yet. A hospital showdown, a new baby, and fans demanding answers. What's next for Sister Wives? By midday, insiders started leaking details. A nurse anonymously told a reporter, "It was like nothing I've ever seen. This wasn't about a baby anymore. It was about control." One man yearned to hijack a moment that no longer was his. Producers, in a flurry, argued over whether to air the footage at all. Cameras had been rolling outside the hospital, capturing Kody's shouting match in dramatic detail. Inside, Christine had authorized brief filming, and rumors circulated that even David's sobbing pep talks could find their way onto television. One source revealed to TMZ